Burrito Deluxe was conceived and formed by myself, Tommy Spurlock, and Sneaky Pete Kleino. And of course, Sneaky Pete was a member and co-founder of the Flying Burrito Brothers, who basically are credited for starting country rock music. They preceded the Eagles, Poco, and bands along those lines. The group itself has always been a evolving bunch of musicians, in and out. Even back in the earliest days of the Flying Burritos, they've always had many different kinds of musicians come in and out of the band. And Burrito Deluxe is just an extension of that.
Hi, I'm Gigi Swanson. I'm heading backstage to talk to Carlton, Moody, and Walter Egan from Burrito Deluxe. Why don't you come join me in the conversation?
I guess maybe I'll try to do the dobro part.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3, 2, 2.
Since you left me, you're doing all right. Out every evening, late every night. Fame and fortune, still you're feeling bad. You come looking for me, the love that we had. But I'm fine with my new life, the new friends I find. I don't need your preaching, I'm alright on the wrong side of town.
That's probably enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of our
Awesome,
favorites to
awesome.
do. Yeah, looking
So
forward
I
to
think
tonight.
I think it's so cool that you're doing this live concert footage, just part of the CD and everything. And
Yeah, well, it's exciting. I think the record is such a good record, but when the band plays live, there's just something special that happens between all of us on stage. Don't you think so? Carl?
Yeah, I think so. You know, we have such great musicians in this band. It's just a
That's the tradition
is
of this band, isn't it?
It is a tradition of the band to just have different musicians coming in and out, and we've been fortunate enough to play with so many great guys, and tonight's no exception.
I mean, like Richard Bell. And
Oh yeah,
Garth
Richard Bell,
and-
Sneaky Pete Kleino, Garth Hudson's been in the band, man. Just
Stick Davis.
Al Perkins. Keep on going, right?
Yeah. Well, Garth, it was great. The first time I saw Burrito Deluxe was, I think it was the Americana conference week, and I saw you guys play at the Mercy Lounge, and to see Sneaky and Garth up there together, and you.
Well, thank you. Of course. Actually, and that's the first time that I've actually met you, Walter, was during that same time period, and I saw you out there, and I said, I know that guy.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, so how soon was it before you started singing with Burrito Deluxe
right
after
after.
that?
Yeah, it was a few months after that. Stick Davis was the bass player. He and I go back. We played in a band called Brooklyn Cowboys together, and he offered this position to me, and I came in and met with Brenda and met with Carlton.
And
The first gig we did actually was a show called the Graham Parsons Guitar Pull in Waycross, Georgia,
right.
and went down together on the bus.
And we sang a lot of Flying Burrito Brothers songs.
Oh, wow.
indeed.
I would
Yeah.
love to pick your brains
Well,
about
you know, that's
that.
the thing about it is the first two albums, the Georgia Peach and as well as the Whole Enchilada, I basically was the main lead singer, and I didn't have a whole lot of backup singing. But once Walter got involved, it's like we do a lot of duets, and it's just a lot more energy. And so, Walter is just a great guy to work with. Love it.
It's interesting. You sort of had these separate paths, and yet you've converged later on in your careers. But you both had links to Graham Parsons back in the day.
Graham was very important to me even before I met him. I was a big fan of the Byrds, and the Byrds did an album called Sweetheart of the Rodeo back in the late 60s.
Right.
And this was the first time that a rock band had played country music seriously. I mean, the Beatles always had Ringo singing kind of a funny country song, and it was always kind of the
Just a little
cartoon on the
tongue-in-cheek,
album
yeah.
or something. But this was like real stuff that could touch you. And
Right.
so at first, to hear Sweetheart of the Rodeo for a Byrds album, blew our minds. We couldn't, what? No, this is wrong. Who's done this? And you look, G. Parsons, and who is this guy? What's he doing on here? So, eventually I was on the radio at that time at Georgetown University, and I used to play as much obscure music as possible. And so I had to look up Graham Parsons. Who is this guy, and what's he doing? And eventually became quite a fan of his. And then when he left the Byrds, he formed Flying Burrito Brothers with Chris Hillman, and then, Sneaky Pete was the original member of that band, and he was pedal steel, so much a part of that sound that
Well,
cranked up.
I think what
raunchy
Sneaky brought
fuzz.
to that band was another harmony voice, but playing an instrument.
Yeah.
He really had that knack to know exactly what to play at the right time, and it
Well-
was really so wacky at the time.
It
when you
was.
look
It
at
was.
but
It sounded like fuzz guitar, and then all of a sudden it sounded like a pedal steel, and it was like, well,
And
what
even
is this? What the heck?
Even Jimi Hendrix has said that he learned a lot of his
Yeah.
licks from just listening to Sneaky Pete.
And so,
play.
flash forward, it was great when Carlton was a part of getting Sneaky back on the road and back
Right,
into
'cause
the band,
you
and that's how Burrito
co-founded
Deluxe came
Burrito
about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We
So the connection's there.
actually Sneaky had he had several different careers going at one time. He was in the stop motion animation
He was Gumby.
business. He did Gumby. He did Pokey.
Pokey.
He's the
Really?
Pill.
Yeah, he did.
He did the Pillsbury Doughboy. He created all this with the claymation and actually filmed it. And so he was in between jobs near the end of the 90s, and he hadn't been playing a lot of music. And Tommy Spurlock and myself got together one night. We were here in Nashville, and we said, we were in Nashville, and said, it would be great. The young people of this generation need to listen to this kind of music.
Yeah.
And so we formed Burrito Deluxe. That was Sneaky's idea to name it after
The second
an
album.
old Flying Burritos album, the
Yeah.
second album, right?
Yeah, because Graham was on that album too. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right, that
And,
was the last
and
Graham
it just
album
it
with
just
Burrito.
kind of blossomed from there, and we just had it wasn't a tribute album, the first album, but it was in a way a tribute album, because we were paying respect to what they did back in the late 60s.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you really can't say the word burrito without having some acknowledgement of Graham Parsons and Chris Hillman when they started the band, even though they stole the name from a friend
Right,
of
I
theirs.
heard
So I
that.
didn't even come up
It was
with
an
the
East
name.
Coast band, wasn't
But,
it?
yeah, it was a.
But
But
I'm
legend.
telling you, but we're still carrying on, and we love doing what we're doing.
Yeah, that's it. The
You
energy.
mentioned something kind of interesting a few minutes ago about introducing young people
Oh,
and
yeah.
the importance of Sneaky Pete's history, his legacy
yeah.
to a whole new generation of music lovers.
For sure. We one of the first concerts or at least semi-tours that we did, it was a small tour, it was only 5 or 6 days, but we went to Europe. We played in Ireland and played in England. And we had Garth Hudson and Sneaky in the band. And it was just amazing to see how many kids, like 18, 19-year-old, right before the show, they were up there just touching Sneaky's steel and Garth's piano rig. They were just wanted to get that close to these guys.